Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one's entitled A Cloaked Spacecraft or Planet X. Now, figure 1 below shows a very strange cloud. It seems to be made of at least 2 circular rings and does shape somewhat like a disc-shaped craft, which would suggest that it may be a craft using a cloud cloak. However, clouds are not usually shaped like this, and we would expect a craft using a cloud type of cloaking device to produce a cloud that has a more natural shape. In other words, if this is indeed a ship, its cloaking is terrible because the cloud shape gives away the presence of the ship. So here you see this cloud. It seems to be made of a disk at the bottom and possibly 2 or more fat rings or disks above it. And as I said, if it's a cloaked ship, the cloak does not work to hide the presence of the object because we can clearly see there's something not natural there. Now, these disc-shaped clouds also do not look natural at all, and if they are cloaked ships, their cloaking is not working to hide the presence of the craft, which suggests that these are not spacecraft. The cloud disks making up the clouds have different radii, with the central disk appearing to have the largest radius. You can see that. And then there are smaller cloud disks below and above. So, and in at least one of them, this one seems to be open at the bottom. It looks like a cloud vortex type of ring. And we see that same structure here. So these clouds have both have ring structure and the open vortex formation at the bottom, which is expected of the cloud envelopes around Planet X system stellar cores inside the Earth's atmosphere. And you may look at Article 571 entitled Planet X in Our Skies, Water and Vortices. It does seem that some of these objects have ring-shaped cloud envelopes and some have more spherically shaped cloud envelopes, as the stellar core seen in the image below. So this one here is more spherical, or at least its cloud envelope is more spherical. We are still looking at the cloud envelope of the object. And we can see another one which is not completely covered by its cloud envelope. Its cloud envelope is very thin. You can see it here. It also has the same spherical shape that we see this object has. You can see the core itself is dark and spherical. And then it has the cloud envelope around it, which in this case not completely covering it. So this is what we would expect to have inside here as well. But this cloud is not completely spherical. You can see that it does seem wider at the equator region than at the pole region. Now, cloud vortices are part of Planet X system stellar core cloud envelopes and form at the bottom of the cloud as the cloud absorbs gravitational energy by absorbing electrons from the Earth's atmosphere. And so here we see another one of these. This one has a lot of rings, and they seem to be quite sharp in certain places at the outer edge there. So this one has at least 5 rings. It seems to have a flat disc, almost flat disc at the bottom. It has not formed into a vortex yet, so most likely has not been in the atmosphere long enough to have gained enough energy, for the cloud to have gained enough energy for a vortex to have started forming. Now, the ring structure of these cloud envelopes indicate a toroidal symmetry to these objects, indicating that they have a magnetic field with the poles pointing, at least one of the poles pointing towards the center of the Earth. Thus, the cores, even though spherical in shape, must have had plasma circulation perpendicular to their magnetic axis at the time that they died and the core solidified, resulting in different latitudes ending up with different electrical potential and therefore giving the object a striped appearance. Once an object absorbs materials such as coronal plasma from the sun, materials of different potentials and thus densities would adhere to the different regions, thus giving the object a striped atmosphere, which which explains why Jupiter, one of the largest stellar cores that must have been re-energized by the Sun several thousand years ago, has a striped appearance. And you may look at article 523 entitled Planet X in the Solar System, Jupiter and All Gas Giants are Recent Acquisitions. The objects that have more spherical shaped envelopes would end up with a more uniform type of atmosphere, as some of the other gas giants such as Neptune have. And here you see Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter has a clearly striped appearance, indicating the toroidal symmetry of the core's surface electric potential, which resulted from the plasma circulation on the surface of this core at the time that the original celestial object died. So Jupiter was most likely once a small star, but now it is a re-energized Planet X system stellar core in the solar system, or in other words, a gas giant. And here you see Neptune, and it has a more uniform atmosphere, but the toroidal symmetry of its surface potential is still apparent from its atmosphere, because we can still see some ring structure in it. Now, in conclusion, ring-shaped clouds in the Earth's atmosphere indicate the presence of Planet X system stellar cores, which had at the time of death plasma circulation on the core at different potentials at different latitudes. The clouds indicate that the objects still have magnetic fields and that they orient themselves in the Earth's atmosphere so that the magnetic axis points outwards along a radial direction. In other words, away from the center of the Earth. The larger of these objects, which go to the Sun to absorb material, would end up with striped atmospheres like Jupiter. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.